Okay, love, I'm starting. Happy Sunday, everyone. Happy Sunday sa ating lahat. Hi, I'm Teacher Kaye. I'm a certified speech-language pathologist, and I'll be here for an hour, at least an hour, to answer your questions kung meron kayong mga katanungan tungkol sa speech delay at iba pang related topics dahil ako nga ay isang certified speech-language pathologist. Hi, Karen, on YouTube. So everybody, today po, nasa YouTube po tayo and Facebook simultaneously. So I hope to be able to answer questions from both platforms. Hello, Rena, Cherry Lynn, I think, Joanna, Nicole, Vianne, and Christina. Hello, everyone. If you have a question, itanong nyo lang po agad. Kasi limited lang po ang time natin as usual. I only have at least an hour today. Hi, Emilu. Good afternoon. Ayan, meron na po tayong first question natin. Hi, Zyron. Okay, this one is from Nicole. Teacher, yung anak ko, lalaki, 4.7 years old. May speech delay. Di po siya masyadong nakikipag-usap sa amin, pero nakakaintindi naman po siya kapag may inuutos kami sa kanya. Pero pag may gusto lang po siya, di niya masabi kung ano. Pero pag nauuhaw po siya, sasabihin niya water. Pag nagugutom siya, I want eat. Limited lang po mga words niya. Pero pag may sinasabi ka, ginagaya niya po, medyo bulol lang. Since baby po kasi na-expose po sa screen time, pumapasok na po siya sa daycare, and alam naman po ng teacher na may speech delay anak ko. Okay, so good. So that's one important thing that I want to bring up. Kung meron na po kayong napapansin na speech delay or any other conditions, yung anak ninyo, and then pinapasok niyo siya in some sort of play school, daycare, or a regular school, you have to tell the teachers, not because gusto mong siya lang yung pagtutuunan ng pansin, because that's not realistic, but because para malaman ng teacher what kind of supports should we be giving dun sa mga batang ito, para maging aware sila how they can support your children. So that's good na sinabi mo. So just to remind you that by around 4 years old, sobrang conversational na ang speech and language ng mga bata. By 4 years old, halos lahat maikukwento na niya, maliban na lang sa very tamang-tamang grammar. Pero halos lahat ng mga itanong mong simple what questions or where questions, who, nasasagot na nila. Medyo mahihirapan pa yan sa reasoning or mga bakit or paano, ganyan. But yung mga one concept answer, like kapag tinanong mong what did you do today, dapat masasagot na yan ng isang 4-year-old. Kapag nakakapansin po tayo na nahihirapan yung bata at 4 years old na at meron naman siyang mga words pero hindi pa siya conversational, yes, speech delay na po yun. And so, kailangan nating humingi ng tulong from a professional. So, keep up what you're doing, Nicole. And kung pwede ko lang i-remind sa'yo na dahil na-acknowledge mo naman na na-expose siya maaga sa screen time, huwag mag-alala, because if you make the right habits now that you know, marireverse pa naman yung ibang characteristics na dulot lang ng screen time. But if your child shows na kahit na tinanggal mo na yung screen time tapos nagpo-persist yung difficulties, ibig sabihin, while huge factor yung screen time and you still need to remove that access to screen time, ibig sabihin lang talaga susceptible ng anak niyo to some sort of other difficulty. So hindi niyo naman po kasalanan yan, kaya wag na pong mag-guilty So, just keep up what you're doing and para mas dumami pa yung mga nasasabi niya kasi at least nakakasabi naman siya ng I want eat. Ibig sabihin nakakapag-combine siya ng words. What you really want to work on are other such short phrases kasi yan na yung skill set niya. And we always want to meet the child kung nasaan yung skills niya at the moment. So, you can introduce other things na mas magiging functional like kahit hindi pang request kasi sabi mo kapag gusto lang niya, masasabi niya or makakapagsalita siya. But there are other things na pwede mong sabihin. So maybe comment other things na ginagawa ng bata like, wow, saya basketball or laro tayo labas. So it's not anymore a request but just showing him na, uy, pwede mo rin gamitin yung language or yung words mo para lang magkwento. So you can practice the technique called commentary, but it's episode 4 called dubbing on my YouTube channel. So for everybody na hindi pa nakakaalam, lahat po ng videos ko I share free information on my YouTube channel. So Teacher Kaye Talks po sa mga hindi pa nakakaalam. Remind ko lang din po yung mga bago dito, huwag po nating spam yung messages po natin kasi hindi ko po masusundan at masasagot yung mga tanong nyo kapag paulit-ulit po ng pag-send ng the same message. So let's be respectful to everybody in the chat and give everyone an equal opportunity. Diba? Paano mayroon tayong sort of equity dito? All right. So I hope that helps you, Nicole. So I just want to answer naman something from YouTube. So hello, Bing. Hello, Jenny. Hello, Reina Lynn. Okay. Meron siyang tanong. Kapag po ba nakakapagbigkas, magsasalita pa po ba? 3 years old na po kasi ang baby ko, di pa nagsasalita ng diretso. Ibang-iba po kasi yung pagbibigkas lang at yung alam niya kung anong gusto niyang sabihin. And that's why yung practice namin is called speech and language because language is the entirety, kabuuan ng the way that we communicate or nakikitungo tayo sa ibang tao. Now, ang speech, yun lang ang spoken output natin. Kaya magkahiwalay po siya. So, nung nasabi mo pong kapag nakakabigkas na, meaning nakakagalaw yung bibig niya enough to make sounds kasi bigkas ay yung pag-produce natin ng speech sounds, magsasalita pa po ba siya? So those are very different. It's possible na nakakachamba ang bata ng pag-produce ng speech sounds if that's what you mean. Kasi kapag tinatanong mo sa akin, makakapagsalita pa ba siya? Ibig sabihin, hindi pa siya nagsasalita talaga, not so much. Then, babbling po ba yung ginagawa ng anak nyo? So it's important na ma-describe nyo din kung ano yung skills. Hindi lang nagsasalita siya or hindi. So the first thing that you need to check is naririnig ba kayo ng bata? Kasi that will affect kung ano yung sounds na sinusubukan niyang gawin. Kapag na-check nyo niyang nakakarinig siya, next you need to check anong klase ng mga sounds ang ginagawa niya. If it's just like parang so these are vowels, diba? This is cooing and usually by 3 months old ng baby, nakakapag-coo or produce na ito ng mga open sounds like vowels. And then by around 6 months old up to around siguro mga 10 months old, ayan, patuloy-tuloy na ang babbling. Ang babbling naman ay yung nakakagamit na sila ng consonants. Ang consonants naman kasi ay yung mga speech sounds na nagdidikit na yung ating articulators. Ang ibig sabihin po ng articulators ay yung mga parte ng ating bibig na ginagamit natin to produce speech sounds. So again, ang babbling ay na-expect natin from 6 months old to around 10, 11 months old. And paunti-unting mawawala yung babbling kapag nagde-decide na sila na, okay, it's time. Ang dami ko ng sounds na na-explore with my babbling. I'm going to try to make words na and imitate words. So by 1 year old, makakarinig na tayo ng mga words or word approximations. It's so important for you to understand that word approximations ay kasi minsan may mga lumalapit sa akin, sinasabi, teacher, hindi pa nakakapagsalita yung anak ko. Pero pagkatanungin ko siya, malalaman kung nagsasabi na pala yung bata ng wah, wah, tuwing humihingi ng tubig or kapag may nakita siyang naglabas ng pitchel ng tubig, for example. Ngayon pala, sinusubukan ng sabihin ng bata yung water, kaso hindi buo, and that is what we call a word approximation, and that is already considered a word kapag yung tunog ay merong referent, or ibig sabihin nun ay tuwing ginagawa niya tong sound na to, ito at ito yung tinutukoy niya. Kapag ganun guys, word na yon. If you are curious about what else is considered a word, I have an episode on that called What's a Word? And that is, hanapin ko What's a Word is episode 35. So guys, pwede nyong i-search yon sa YouTube channel ko. So, para lang mas klaro yung sagot ko kay Reynalyn, yes, may pag-asa. Actually, ang haba lang yung explanation ko, pero yung short answer, kasi ang tanong mo lang naman talaga dito ay makakapagsalita pa ba? Yes, kung hindi siya nagsasalita ngayon, pero tinatanong mo kung makakapagsalita pa, laging may pag-asang magsalita pa guys, ang mga individuals, especially kapag bata pa sila. That's why, di ba, naririnig mo laging sinasabi ko, early intervention is so important because habang baby sila, mas malaki ng chance na makaka-learn sila ng new habits that will be better for their learning. But kahit hindi na sila bata, tayo naman as people, we throughout our lifetime, we keep learning. So kahit anong mangyari, kaya yan at any point of our life. But the important thing is, kapag nakita na nating may problema, is that we address it. Hindi lang natin, magsasalita din yan. Wala tayong gagawin. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Dapat kapag nakakakita tayo ng problema, mag-iisip tayo, bakit? At anong pwede nating gawin? So it's all about looking at your lifestyle, paano ba kayo namumuhay? Paano ba ang pag-araw-araw niyong pagko-communicate? Who talks to the child? How do you talk to each other or other people in the household? These are the things that you need to look at. And if you feel like, yung iba kasi namin ginagawa, di pala helpful dun sa bata. Like, sometimes may mga nagsasabing, mga lumalapit sa akin na, teacher, kasi hindi talaga kami lahat madaldal. At since si mommy, si daddy, at si lola na magkakasama in the same household, lahat daw sila hindi nagdadaldal. Kanya-kanya lang daw talaga sila. They hardly talk. So, alam kong iba-iba rin ang personalities, but you have to remember that if you have a baby involved, the baby will not learn anything unless it's from the people that they interact with, and that's you guys. So you have to make an extra effort na magdaldal kahit papano at kausapin yung baby, because that's the only way that they're going to learn. So medyo napahaba ang sagot ko, but I hope that answers your question. But also may kasunod pa pala yung nagtanong, 3 years old na hindi nagsasalita pero hindi pa rin naglalakad. So that's also an important sign, is that it's not just a speech and language delay, but that there's also a motor skills delay. Kapag hindi naglalakad, that means there's a gross motor problem. Possible na hindi okay ang balance ng baby, hindi tama ang muscles sa paa or sa legs to support the stability of being upright, for example. So, dapat kasi by 1 year old, yan, magsa-start talaga silang maglakad. But if we see speech and language concerns and a motor concern, usually 2 or more concerns are what they will now call global developmental delay. So sa mga nakakarinig ng term ito, ang shortcut din nito ay GDD. Yun po ang ibig sabihin noon. And I have an episode about GDD. Kung yan po ang concern nyo, I hope that it helps you. So ang GDD episode ko po ay episode 39. So I hope that you can go there po, ma'am. And maybe may karagdagang mga sagot na pwede mong subukan doon. Alright. So, okay guys, ulitin ko lang yung mga nagsa-spam, I see you. And parang dahil naiinis ako sa pag-spam nyo, baka kayo pa hindi ko sagutin ako. Hindi naman, di ako nananadya. Pero may mga nauna kasi guys, so first come first serve, huwag nating idaan sa pag-spam at sa pag-ulit-ulit kasi mas lalang wala akong mababasa. Okay? Okay. Alright, dito tayo. So, another question. My baby is 3 years old pero di pa talaga nagsasalita. Di ko masabi na salita yung bigla na lang minsan makakasabi ng salita. Like, mama, ano po ba ibig sabihin nun? Okay, sorry, gumalaw po ulit yung chat dahil meron po talagang nagsaspam. Alam kong lag. Ito, na baka hindi nyo pa naririnig yung reminder ko. Guys, huwag kayong mag-spam. Init talaga ulo ko. Ite-therapy ko kayo, ibe-behavior management ko kayo, ini-negative reinforcement ko kayo. Ibig sabihin nun, mas lalong hindi ko gagawin yung gusto nyo. So anyway, sorry naputol yung question. But, ang napulot ko doon is, 3 years old, minsan naririnig ng nakakapagsabi ng salita, pero madalang, tapos hindi na uulit. So parang natsatsambahan yung parang na-get kong feeling dun sa tanong ano. Guys, kapag nakakapansin kayo na sinusubukan yung salita, usually kasi, ang trend ha, hindi naman palagi, pero ang trend is, once a child starts exploring a sound, ulit-ulitin nila yan. Kasi gusto nilang malaman, oh, paano ko kaya yun magagawa at mauulit na magiging consistent siya. That is how children explore. Once na makachamba sila, susubukan nila yan ng susubukan hanggang magawa nila yan properly. So, if nakakapansin kayo na parang nagawa minsan, tapos parang hindi na naulit, or naulit parang mga 2 months later pa ulit, it's possible na yung problem or what is causing the child's difficulty is a motor issue. So, ang tawag namin dito is a possible motor speech disorder. One of the more popular motor speech disorders is called apraxia or verbal dyspraxia. And that episode, unahin ko na muna yung episode ha bago ko explain ng kaunti para lang hindi ko malimutan. That's episode 45 sa mga nakaka-relate dito para din hindi tayo paulit-ulit ng same tanong. So, if guys, narinig nyo yung symptom na ganun, tas medyo nasagot ko na or try ko nang sagutin, yun na lang, okay, for today, para marami tayong masasagot na iba-ibang questions. So, ang verbal dyspraxia or childhood apraxia of speech means that sometimes the child actually knows exactly kung anong gusto niyang sabihin. Pero dahil motoric, yung motor component, motor as in kung paano gumalaw yung katawan natin. And in this case, our oral peripheral mechanism, nahihirapan yung brain to send direct signals to our OPM, oral peripheral mechanism, para gumalaw siya. So, nagkaka-problem with coordinating the movements. And that's why sometimes, kunyari gusto niyang sabihin na mama. So, nagsabi niya, kunyari narinig mo, mama. Tapos sinabi mo, say it again, baby. Anong sinabi mo, mama? Tapos may kita mo gaganto ng baby. Tapos parang nakikita mong nag-grope. That's what we call groping. Na parang sinusubukan ng baby galawin, pero there is a coordination problem doon sa movement ng muscles. Another is that there's a problem with sequencing. So sometimes, gusto niyang sabihin mama, pero ang lalabas ay So yung sequence ng gagalaw, hindi nauna yung sound, nauna yung sound yung pagbukas. So in that video, verbal dyspraxia, you will see if you notice the other signs of verbal dyspraxia. But I just want to warn you, and I can't remember if sinama ko to dun sa video ko, but you can't actually confirm apraxia of speech until the child has is trying to imitate talaga. Parang meron na siyang on-command imitation. Hindi yung natsatsambahan. Pero nung asabihin mo talagang, can you say dog? Tapos makikita mong nagtatry yung batang mag-imitate. You super duper need to have that skill, and the child needs to have more or less more words bago natin ma-confirm. And this is not a medical diagnosis. This is a speech disorder. So if you want to have this checked, and kailangan talaga nito face-to-face because titingnan maraming mga ipapaulit yung mga speech pathologists nyo pagka in-assess to. You really need to go to a speech therapist. Okay, let's go. All right. Hello, Chrysaline. Okay. Okay, sa nakikita ko na ngayon ang daming nagtatanong, "Teacher, pwede ba kaming magpa-therapy sa inyo?" The 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 truth is, guys, wala na akong slots. So, puno na yung teletherapy ko as much as my schedule can make na meron pa akong pahinga. So, may mga nagsasabi kasi, "Oh, guys, share ko lang sa inyo, merong nang-away minsan na parang nag-story ata ako. Tapos, I guess this person has been messaging me on Facebook for a long time. And guys, inaamin ko naman, di ba, hindi talaga ako masyadong maka-keep up sa Facebook messages. Masyadong marami. And the way that I need to respond to Facebook messages is long. Hindi siya pwedeng yes or no answer lang. I actually have to read it. I have to analyze what I think your problem is based on your description. Then I have to formulate my advice and analyze, di ba? So, it takes a long time for me to respond to Facebook messages. So, anyway, disclaimer lang na kaya nga hindi talaga ako kaya ako naglilibreng konsulta, guys, para dito nyo na tanungin. Sobrang mas mabilis kapag napag-uusapan ko yung tanong. But anyway, so nung kwento ko is, merong isang time ata na kaka-message lang ata ulit nitong taong to. Tapos nag-post ako ng story. Tapos ano, yung message niya something like, "Nakakapag-post ka ng story pero di mo ako ma-replyan." Parang goodbye na, ganyan. Parang, "Guys, sorry naman." Pero yeah, um, yun, explain ko lang kung ba't hindi ako nakakasagot at kaya nandito tayo. Alright. Hello, how can I teach my son, 6 years old, how to write or speak kahit ilang words lang na utusan naman siya, hindi po marunong mag-communicate currently. Oh my gosh, tumatalon pa rin. I'm so sorry. So 6 years old, and you said how to teach him to write or speak. So, unang tingnan nyo is nasaan yung skill set ng bata. If na-feel nyo na parang mas kaya niyang magsulat kesa mag-speak, then of course, focus on that first because what's more important is nakakapag-communicate tayo dun sa bata. But typically, di ba, nauuna ang nauuna ang speaking kaysa writing. So, wag nyo namang ipilit yung writing kapag pag hindi pa nagpapakita ng child ng readiness for writing. Like, hindi naman siya dumadampot ng ballpen on his or her own, tapos nagsiscribble because that's one of the things na magpapakita na ready sila. So yeah, my answer pa rin to that is always look at their current skills because that's more important and that's where they'll need you to meet them. Pero dahil 6 years old na, what are things that you can do? Well, kung may access po talaga, sana mahanap natin what is causing the difficulty because yun talaga ang una nating gustong malaman bago natin mabigyan ng tulong. Kasi it's never a format answer. There is no formula that I'm going to say, dahil 6 years old na, ito gawin mo, blah, 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 blah. Ibang-iba lahat ng bata. Ibang-ibang pangangailangan nilang lahat. So, if you can get a speech therapy assessment, that's the first step that you can do. And kung may kahirapan sa finances is kahit therapy assessment man lang para malaman nyo kung anong problema at mabigyan kayo ng advice ng therapist. And be open about it. Sabihin mo, teacher or kung sino mang kausap nyo na may pera lang akong magpa-assess. So sana po kung mabigyan nyo ako ng advice base kung anong nakita nyo na doon sa assessment, can you try to give that to me? And I think naman, ethically, the speech therapist will respond with some advice that you can try at home. Although may separate na bayad na ng home program, but the home program is usually updated. So maybe kahit mabigyan nyo lang siya ng advice kasi pag pinpoint mo na kung ano yung problem areas, usually may recommendations din dun sa report. So usually a speech therapy assessment will show you the background info na kunento nyo sa therapist para ma-explain, para siyang hindi naman disclaimer, pero parang it will show kung bakit ganito yung impression ng speech therapist because sometimes the behavior of the child is very different at a session than what they can actually do at home in a comfortable environment. So sometimes we have to take a lot of the background information into consideration. And then after that, it did describe what actually happened in the assessment. The child was able to do this, but not able to do this. We tried pero yung behavior niya ay may ganitong difficulty. So lahat yan pinag-uusapan, and then at the end, the speech therapist will provide you with a problem list, and then in that problem list, i-identify niya per area, like what are the problems in terms of behavior. Is there a problem with hearing? Baka there's suspicion of a hearing impairment, or there's a problem with expressive language, or is it receptive language, the way na makakaintindi yung bata? Is it, and then after all of that, checking like my articulation problem, la 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 la. Pag na-identify na yung problem, there's always recommendations. What can you do with all this information? So I know that that wasn't really the question, but just in case, I know that a lot of you have also asked, okay, so what do I get with the speech therapy assessment anyway? So I thought this was a good opportunity for me to explain kung anong i-expect nyo kapag nagpa-assess kayo sa speech therapist. Okay, next. Okay, we have one on YouTube, and it says, "Teacher, I have a 5-year-old daughter na going to OT na. Nakakaintindi na po siya, pero hindi pa po masyado nagsasalita. What should I do?" So it depends po what you're going to OT for and what the skills that they're working on. Because if they're still working on, like let's say joint attention or any of the other precursory skills, then kaya siya hindi natututong magsalita or umintindi is because it's very hard to learn when you don't have attention on anything. Attention on materials, attention to environment, attention kapag kinausap ka, so there's no attention to interactions. So if the child, kahit 5 years old na siya, siguro nakakagulo sometimes that nakikita nating lumalaki na yung mga bata. So 5 years old, medyo malaki na yun, di ba? So parang there's a thinking na dapat naiintindihan na niya to, or dapat kaya na niyang magsalita. Pero yun nga, children will do things if they could do things. So when they can't, it means na nahihirapan sila. Something is hindering them from being able to do certain things. So yeah, I'm not sure what you're working on in OT. So baka if it's something as huge a factor as attention, then that's really something na kailangan nyo ring i-address muna sa OT. Although, pwede nyong isabay yung mga other techniques like making sure na walang screen time yung bata para clear yung mind niya to receive new information and hindi siya over-perseverate on yung mga napapanood niya. Also, check the videos I said about verbal dyspraxia. For example, ito nga, nakakaintindi pero hindi nagsasalita. It's what if, hindi nyo napapansin, there are signs pala na gustong magsalita ng bata. Kaso there's a motor problem. So I want you to check that also. May karugtong pa pala tong sinabi niya. Pag inuutusan ko, sumusunod na siya at nakakaintindi, pero yun nga, hindi nagsasalita. Masyado mama, papa, mga single words lang. Okay, that's actually a good sign na meron siyang single words. So you build on those single words. So now na meron siyang single words, the next step for you is to expand the amount of words in the vocabulary. So how you can do that is by doing the technique dubbing. That's episode 4, or commentary. Madami din akong videos, short videos that show this on TikTok. And that means na lahat ng ginagawa ng bata dapat ililabel nyo. Dapat para ang halos dinadub nyo siya parang anime. So kunyari, may pinaglalaruan siyang tela, ganyan. So sasabihin mo, lambot ba yan? Hawak mo tela? Oo, gusto mo yang hawak. Very soft. So kahit na hindi ikaw yung hindi kanya kinakalaro, mag-isa lang niya, i-label nyo ng i-label nung ginagawa ng bata, because there, ma-realize niya na, pinag-uusapan niya ata itong ginagawa ko. So makaka-pick up siya ng words like tela, lambot, soft, hawak. And these are things that will really expand the child's vocabulary. So after you have more words in the child's vocabulary, you can also think about extending and expanding. So that's episode 30, I think. Memorize ko na. Ito kasi yung mga lagi kong sinasuggest sa mga parents is that when they're already at the single word level, gusto niyong tingnan na baka pwede niyang kayang dalawahin. So kapag kunyari nakakasabi na siya ng mama, o habang naglalaro kayo, tapos hinahawakan niya yung face mo, kunyari, di ba may mga batang ang sweet-sweet, ang hilig maghawak ng face. So kunyari, alam na niya yung mama, habang hinahawakan ka niya, nasabi niya, mama, sabi mo, oh mama, love you, mama hawak, smooth mama face. So, dinadagdagan mo lang yung sa tingin mong, ano kayang gusto niyang sabihin nung sinabi niyang mama? Is it really just calling your attention, mama? Or baka, sinasabi nga niya na, mama, I love you. So, yun, i-expand mo what you think the child was trying to say, pero hindi pa ready yung possibly yung articulators niya, or wala pa siyang vocabulary for those words. So, supply niyo yung words na yon for the child, and maybe next time, because ideally that's what we want to see, na baka next time magagawa niya on her own. So I hope that helps you. Okay. Hi, may problema din ang anak ko sa speech. 17 years old na siya. Di pa rin makapagsalita ng maayos. Okay, there's not very many there's not a big description. So 17 years old. Unang gusto kong tanungin is, paano, kasi ang terminology mo ay hindi makapagsalita ng ayos, but I'm assuming then na nakakapagsalita naman, but maybe hindi as much as you would think a 17-year-old would. So, dahil wala akong masyadong information dun sa nasabi nyo, again, just a process of elimination, my first advice is, sana makapagpatingin sa speech therapist kung may kakayahan naman po tayo, kasi kawawa naman yung bata, 17 years old na siya, tapos hindi natin mahanap kung ano yung problem niya. So, sana mas matukoy natin kung paano natin siya matutulungan. Next, if hindi naman kayang magpa-speech therapy, ikaw rin, kailangan mong mag-investigate. Bakit? Saan siya nahihirapan? Ano yung characteristics ng hindi makapagsalita ng ayos? Is it because single words lang yung ginagamit niya? Or mali ba yung grammar niya? For example, siya ba yung bata na tipong nagsasabi ng this Christmas, gift ako gusto, for example. So, mali-mali yung sequence ng words, yung grammar, may mga nawawalang little words in the middle. Or do you mean also, kapag hindi nakakapagsalita ng ayos, is bulol ba siya? So, does it have something to do with articulation? So, if it is an articulation-based question, I have the episode Bulol, which is episode 36. That's a good place to start para masabi nyo kung ano ba yung sounds na hindi ma-produce nung bata. In this case, nung teenager. Bakit hindi niya masabi tong sounds na to? At paano natin matutulungan? So a lot of, if it is an articulation problem, one of the first pieces of advice that I can give you is to draw more attention to how. We cannot just expect a child to suddenly understand dahil inuulit-ulit mo yung word. Hindi, sinabi ko sabihin mo, baso, pero wala kang pinapakita ng iba. So, you need to give more cues dun sa tao kung what can you do. Kailangan mag-start tayong naka-close yung mouth, ba, tapos parang puputok natin yung sound, baso. Or if it's like an S sound, how can we help a child or a person produce an S? Which reminds me, meron na rin akong S episode. I actually have two. One is about a lisp and one is about how to produce an S. So my lisp episode is episode 16, and then my S sound is episode 47, kung concern yun. So I'm very sorry if hindi ko masyadong ma-specify how to give more advice for your 17-year-old because I also don't have much information to work on here. All right, next. Pulot ulit tayo dito sa Facebook. Okay, hi. Okay, gumalaw na ulit. Hi, anak ko, 4 years old. di pa rin nakakapagsalita ng diretso, parang hirap-hirap po siyang bigkasin yung word or phrase. Okay, so for this one again, if it seems like nahihirapan siya with sounding out and not necessarily kung anong naiintindihan or gusto niyang sabihin, then it's an articulation problem. Therefore, yung kaka-suggest ko lang na episodes, I also suggest those for you. They're titled Bulol. Yeah, and that's a good place to start. All right. First time ko dito. Very thankful for free consult. You're welcome. 2 years and 5 months si baby ko. Ang nasasabi pa lang niya ay A to Z or yung things na nag-start sa A to Z like apple, baby, cat, dog. We call those alphabet words. Some colors, animals, and animal sounds, numbers 1 to 10. Hindi pa po siya nakakausap like conversation. Ano po kaya ang magandang gawin para matuto siya makipag-usap? Ano din po kaya ang reason bakit hindi siya makipag-usap? Nag-book po ako Developmental Pedia pero sobrang dami pong pila, kaya matagal po bago siya matignan. Okay, so itong mga dinescribe mong words na nasasabi ng anak nyo, bakit niya kaya alam to? That's the first question that I would like to ask you because just from looking at the types of words, it could be because meron ba kayo ng mga wall stuff na tinuturo nyo, or more importantly, is it because nakakapanood siya ng mga shows that have A to Z, alphabet words, colors, animal sounds, numbers? So I don't know ha, but if nga nakukuha niya yan sa kakanood, the first problem is actually nasusobrahan siya ng kakanood. Unang-una, babies from 0 to 2 years old should have 0 screen time. Okay, I always explain this because their brains cannot yet recognize and understand the symbols that are going on videos. And so what happens then is they're attacked by all these images na paulit-ulit because they're trying to understand but they don't know. And then also, ang bilis-bilis ng pagkasunod-sunod ng animation editing, di ba, ng mga nursery rhymes or things that we watch on YouTube, ng mga cartoons. So, if ito lang nung natututunan ng bata, it's because of the repetitiveness of it and also because inuulit-ulit nila to but they don't understand it, and that's why hindi rin nila magamit to communicate with you. So, if you would like because what you described actually are some of the signs of a screen addiction. I have a post on screen addiction on my Instagram. Actually, nandito na naman sa Facebook, pero mas mahirap mag-scroll dito. And one of those is repeating yan, mga alphabet, numbers, colors, mga words that you don't necessarily use to request for things or to say how you're feeling. They're just memorized words, and so it's not actually communication. So what can you do is, number one, remove screen time. I call this a screen rehab. Give them time to rehabilitate their habits that clear their mind first, make them not perseverate on those information. Next thing you can do is play with them. Make sure that they are touching things, and while they are manipulating different things, finding out how things work, because yan talaga ang work of children, is to explore. And while they are doing that, do the technique on episode 4 called dubbing or commentary, where lahat ng ginagawa nila ay linilabel nyo para ma-assign niya, ginamit ni mama tong word na to talk about itong hawak ko. Next time, pwede ko palang sabihin na ball, for example. So you can try those. You may also want to check how are the ways that you communicate at home. Ito ba yung tipong mas lalo nitong pandemic, nasanay yung mga bata na laging nandyan lang kayo sa bahay. So, kada kibo niya, minsan titingin pa lang siya dun sa cabinet or sa refrigerator, sabi mo na, tubig ba anak? Tubig, chocolate? Ano bang gusto mo dito? Cookie, ulam, lumpiang Shanghai? Ano ba yun? Wala pang ginagawa yung bata, tumingin pa lang siya, ibinigay niyo na masyado lahat. So, there's no opportunity for the child to communicate or try to formulate their thoughts into a request na, mama, kain, for example. So, those are some things that you can start with. I think actually madami na yon, because you don't just do this one time, especially yung screen rehab. Nako, pahirapan yan sa first day. But I have had so many people saying na, 1 day pa lang of screen rehab, mas lalo for mga very young babies na hindi pa naman talaga nasanay sobra, um, 1 day pa lang kaya na nilang ma-cut out yung screen. Pero for older kids, it might take as little as 4 days to mga 2 weeks to completely rehabilitate their screen addiction. And obviously, lahat ng therapy techniques na mga sinishare ko sa inyo dito, it is never a one-time overnight thing. It is something that you need to practice and keep doing. The repetition of it is what will help your children learn. Okay, so I hope that that helps you. Okay, wait lang. Magsasaksak lang po ako ng laptop, okay? Kasi charged naman to kanina, pero parang ang bilis mamatay nung battery ngayon. So, okay, wait lang. Medyo break na rin ang lalamunan ko, di ba? Wait lang. It'll take like a minute. Andito lang naman. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Sapita ba yan? Hi, teacher. Tanong. Okay, wait lang I'm gonna try to, Hi, teach. Tumatalon. Hello, blessed Sunday also, Tony. Thank you. Okay. Oh, this is so unique. My child is already 4 years old. Nasa nursery na siya. Takot po siya sa storytelling. Pag nagpe-play po ng video ng story yung teacher niya, tatakbo po agad siya sa labas. Any idea po para hindi na po siya matatakot? Okay, sometimes yung mga ganitong behavior is triggered by an experience. So, some children, especially if it's a very undesirable experience, matrigger pa lang nila sila ng something, ina-associate na nila to that one thing that happened. And sometimes it doesn't always have to be, it doesn't always have to make sense to the child. Hindi nila alam. But for example, what if may nakita silang video before and it was showing something scary, and medyo mabigat naman yung word na traumatized, but it's possible na parang sobrang nagka-impact sa kanya yung scary thing na nakita niya, and hindi niya ma-process yon. So iniisip na lang niya, ayoko nang tumingin sa screens. Every time may video, ayoko na lang panoorin, tatakot ako. So you have to try to do some investigation. Saan kaya nang galing yung ganitong behavior ng bata na takot siya? Because yeah, it's important to understand, because another thing could be, ayaw ba ng child ng sounds? Sometimes videos kasi have very hyper-stimulating sound effects, di ba? Yung mga ding, poing, wow, di ba? Sobrang varied ng sound designing ng mga ibang videos. And not all children like these sounds, especially children. And I'm not saying it's your child. I'm just saying that this is something that I'm thinking about ng mga other children that don't like videos or music, na nagre-run away to escape it or nagtatakip ng tenga. It might be too much for them. Baka sa kanila, kahit sa atin, parang, normal lang naman, di naman malakas, or di naman sobrang annoying. Iba yung threshold ng ibang bata, ng ibang tao. Iba-iba kasi tayo ng threshold lahat. So sometimes there are sensory difficulties that make it hard for them to filter out the unnecessary noise. Sometimes they receive all the sounds all at once. Tayo kasi, when we focus, there's what we call figure ground discrimination, wherein kahit na marami tayong naririnig, in a crowded place, nakaka-focus pa rin tayo dun sa iisang boses ng kausap natin. Some people can't do that. Some people have poor figure ground discrimination and such that lahat sabay-sabay lahat ng sounds. So I guess one thing I'm also asking you is, aside from investigating why, what could have been the trigger, also look at your child. Is it a sensory difficulty? Is the child escaping because hirap siya with all the stimulation from the video? Or is it a visual stimulation na ayaw niya, masyadong mahulay or whatever, masyadong mabilis yung pangyayari, might be too chaotic. So these are the things that I want you to look at. And whatever those are, especially if it's a sensory problem, we try to just respect that at this point of their development, siguro hindi pa nila kaya. So just remove them from the situation. Or you may want to try to, if naman it's the other one, na parang na-trigger lang with one experience, try to introduce a new experience with videos or storytelling that will become so pleasant na yun na lang naman yung matatandaan ng bata moving forward. So I hope that helps you. Okay. Hi, gusto ko lang malalaman nyo, madaldal na baby boy ko, he's 4.5 years old now, nakakaintindi na rin. May mga methods na tinuturo nyo ay na-apply ko talaga. Oh yeah, your name looks familiar. Thank you so much. I love you. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. I'm so happy to hear this. Guys, we have a success story here. Yay! Congratulations. I'm so happy to hear from you. Thank you for sharing your progress. And someone says, I love listening to your professional voice. What's that? Because guys, I guess sa hindi nakakaalam. Do I know this person, Heidi? Oh, because this is my friend. Totoo nga. So kung kilala niyo ako in real life, ang ingay-ingay ko kasi. Lol. Sa akin, teacher, di sumasagot if tinatanong, laging no ang tamad. Okay. So, nakakaintindi ang anak ko kasi yung interaction niya ang problem. Okay, number one, it depends how old the child is. And I don't know if I missed an earlier message, pero sa mga batang nagno-know agad, it could be so many different reasons. But here are some that I can think about just from that description. So sa mga batang no, ganyan. Either alam na nila na nahihirapan silang umintindi, and so i-escape na lang nila yung interaction, and one way to do that is na-realize na nila that when they say no, tatantana na sila yung kausap nila. So, pwedeng patong-patong na compensatory escape behaviors ng bata. Kaya kaya nagdo-no na lang sila agad. Parang shut up na lang. Ayoko, hindi ko kayang sagutin. So, napapahiya ako. May mga ganong bata, especially the older ones, mga 3 to 4 years old. Tapos, medyo nagigets nila na, shucks, nahihirapan ako mag-communicate Wag na lang ako mag-communicate. So, go away na lang. No to everything na lang. So, if you think that this is a problem, wait lang sorry. May nabasa akong gusto kong i-reply. Kaso, hindi ko mapuntahan. Okay, but so yeah, if you think that could be a problem, you have to show the child that it's okay and you will process things together. Now, he doesn't need to answer right away. Just hear me out. So maybe also have to try to do more commentary than commanding. What does this mean? So instead of asking questions like, di ba kasi sometimes when we're playing, gusto nating sabihin, oh, what's that? Oh, ano hawak mo? Oh, say this nga, say this. It's all commands. Hindi natin napapansin, and it's not a bad thing. It's part of our natural way of communicating with our friends kasi, or like adults. But, di ba, with children who are having difficulty, think about that. Kunyari, hirap ka to communicate with something, tapos tinatanong ka pa ng tinatanong. Imbis na i-comment mo na lang lahat. So, kunyari, nagtanong ka nga na, oh, what's that you're holding? You're holding a truck. A truck. Yeah, we can try to say truck by saying, the truck. So, it's giving the child access to tools that they can use to answer you or to speak up. So, overall, we have to look at how demanding our environment is. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing na dinidemand nyo kasi. No, I mean like the choice of words that we have. And ako din, and I'm still working on this as a therapist to like stop asking so many questions. It's something that you can also practice. So, if that's one thing, you might want to consider that. So, finding out if nagno-no lang siya to end the interaction. Wait lang ubo ko. Kakahiya. Sana hindi COVID. Sure. Someone says, "Hi teacher, tama po kayo. No screen, mas okay." Yan na po ang tinuturo ng OT and ST ng daughter ko. Oh, I'm so glad that you agree. And actually, your name also looks very familiar. Someone also says, very effective po yung dubbing method, Teacher Kaye. Yes, so guys, take it from your fellow mommy who says na na-try na niya and it's very effective for her child. Teacher, my son is 1 and 10 months. Hindi pa po siya nakakapagsalita. Ang alam lang po niya yung mga sounds ng animals. Is that normal po ba sa age niya? Okay, very hard to say normal, but okay, here's a consideration lang ha. Sounds of animals, kung kayo ang nagturo and hindi videos, kunyari, lagi kayo naglalaro or kinakantahan mo siya ng Old MacDonald had a farm, bakit tumatatak sa babies? It's because it's different and we usually say it more in an animated way. Hindi siya real word, so we say it like, moo, parang we try to make it interesting, di ba? Or ba, ba. So, it's not just a word, but it's a sound effect. And children love different sounds. So kung ito yung unang mga they grasp onto these words, don't worry. It's considered a word to have animal sounds. Naalala niyo ba yung part of speech called onomatopoeia? Which is the word approximation or the word equivalent of a sound effect or like an animal sound, for example. So another example is the sound of cars, right? Vroom, vroom is onomatopoeia, or beep, beep is another onomatopoeia. All of these sounds of animals or whatever sound effects are also considered words. So you can include that when you're trying to count words for your child's milestones. My concern here though is 1 year and 10 months, and kung sound effects pa lang ang nagagawa niya pero wala siyang word for even like mama, which is usually mama or papa or kung sinong usually kausap niya, that could be a concern. I'm not saying it already is, but it could be a concern because usually yan ang unang gustong matutunan ng baby because they want to communicate na, "Hoy, mama, pakinggan mo ako, I need you." It's what we call calling attention. It is usually typically the first words that children learn because they want to communicate. So, look at the sounds na nagagawa niya with the animal sounds. So, kung nasasabi na niyang moo, dapat kaya na rin niyang ma-approximate ang mama. So, I want you to try experimenting with how you can encourage pa na masasabi niya yung mama. So, maybe gawin mong song habang nagtitinginan kayo. Mama, 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 mama. So, I mean, I'm not telling you to like sing to your baby. I'm just, use your imagination. How do you make mama sound as interesting as the animal sounds, for example? So that's one thing that I want you to consider. But speaking of normal, I actually don't prefer using the word normal ba, but is it a typical pattern of development for a 1 year and 10 month old to only have animal sounds but no other words? Hindi na siya typical pattern because usually at 18 months old, that's 1.5 years old, di ba, ay meron na siyang mga 10 words that are being used to communicate. Though nga, pwede mong bilangin yung animal sounds. Typically, we have other first words like word for milk, like nakakapagsabi siya ng dede, or kain, or whatever other equivalent of those things. So I hope that helps you. Okay. All right, here. So, guys, I'm just skipping over. Guys, if I don't read your particular comment, it's because sometimes they look so similar to isang question na na-address ko na. So, it's not that I'm ignoring you as a person, as a commenter, but I am passing over some of the similar concerns para mas marami tayong matako. Okay, so hello, Bebe, watching from Bulacan. All right. Okay. Yung anak ko po, may letters siya na hindi mabigkas, like G. Yung name ko is Jean. So that's Ja. He would say, Mama, Mama he, instead of Jean. Ganun po. So I'm not sure if I'm Hene ba dapat gene or gene? So, hinuhulaan ko lang po but I just want to explain to you na kung nga as in ge ba, some babies na hindi pa na-explore yung buong movements ng mouths nila, nahihirapan sila kung paano gawin ang kasi hindi usually nakikita ang dila kapag ginagawa natin ang sounds na k at g. O, di ba? Hindi nyo halos nakita na gumalaw. That is because k and g are back sounds. O, I'll open my mouth wider and show you kung paano ginagawa ang g sound. G. So, yung tongue natin ay umaatras, tapos nagta-touch dun sa top. So, if hindi pa sila nag-explore ng ganitong sounds, baka kailangan nilang ma-practice or makita na, tingnan mo kung anong nag-move doon sa tongue ni mama. Ayun. So, pakita nyo sa kanya kung anong kailangan nagta-touch. It might be the signal na kailangan mag-gets ng anak nyo na, kasi ang ginagawa ko pala, ganun sabi mo, he, mama he, or mama he, instead, ang sinasabi niya. So that means hindi nagdidikit at all yung tongue niya kung that's just an open sound. Hindi gumagalaw yung tongue. So the child might need a cue na ito ang kailangan mong gawin. Ganito mo siya pwedeng galawin. So you might also want to look at my episode on bulol. Ano nang sinabi ko? May nakakaalala ba dito? Hindi, ito na lang. My episode on bulol is episode 36. Just to maybe give you an intro of paano natuturo yung mga ibang sounds. Although hindi ko na-tackle nung g. Hindi ko pa yung nagagawang video. But so, okay, what can you do? So you can practice being in front of the mirror with your child. Tapos makapapakita mo like making the child familiar with the parts of the tongue. Meron tayong front of the tongue. The tip. Ito ang ginagamit natin for mga l or n or d. Yan. So we use the tip of our tongue. For the g, dapat yung katawan ng ating tongue. Dapat ilalagay natin siya doon sa likod. Ayun. Another prompt that we usually give is kamay ng bata. Ipapalagay mo dito. Actually, gawin nyo muna para alam nyo kung saan i-cue. So, yung kamay ng bata, hanapin nyo kung saan pag sinasabi nyo g, nafe-feel nyo, may gumaganon dito. Yung tongue nyo yun or gumagalaw yung tongue nyo, g. Yun ang gusto mong ipa-feel sa bata. Kasi sometimes with that signal, sabi nila, may kailangan palang gumagalaw dyan. So, get the child's hand and put it kung saan gumagalaw yung tongue nyo when you say g. And then they might try to imitate it now with more information of what is the required movement. Ayun, I hope that helps you. All right. Okay. 2 years old na po ang baby ko. Cooing siya madalas. Mama lang ang nasasabi niya na word. Nakakaintindi kapag inuutusan, pero minsan di nakikipag-communicate. Okay, so again, that's not enough information, but if the child is not yet babbling, cooing lang, you might want to explore more sounds. So that's my episode 5 on YouTube called First Baby Sounds, I think, to kind of give you an idea kung ano pa bang sounds ang gusto mo? Kasi cooing, like I said in the start of the video, that means vowel sounds. They're just open sounds. Ooh, e. We want to have the child explore more babbling sounds. Yun yung consonants natin. Bababa, kakakakapapapa, yung mga sounds na yan. Because these are all the ones, the sounds na ipagdudugtong-dugtong niya to eventually make a word. So you want them to have more speech sounds first. So again, that's episode 5 on my YouTube channel. But it's a good sign na nakakaintindi kapag inuutusan. I also have more activities that you might want to try on following commands. Yan kapag inuutusan. How other ways can you check how much they understand of your commands in episode 41. So if you want to try to see kung ano pa yung mga naiintindihan ng anak ninyo. Because sometimes you can chop up the commands. Ano ba talagang naiintindihan niya? Kunyari, in a command na, kunin mo yun. Ang naiintindihan ba niya ay kunin? Ang naiintindihan ba niya ay yun? Or dahil ba nagturo ka, nagmuso ka, or nag-gesture ka, like, kunin mo yun. Hindi pala niya naiintindihan yung words mo, pero naiintindihan niya by context dahil nag-gesture ka. So you want to break all of those down when you do following commands with your child to really check alin dun sa command, alin dun sa utos ko yung naintindihan niya. Naintindihan ba niya talaga yung verbal command? Yeah. All right, we have a grade 8 student who can hardly recognize letters. Last face-to-face nila was in grade 6. Any advice to help them? I have exactly the episode for this. You can go to my episode on emergent readers. That episode is episode 69. And because you can't force recognition of letters, first the child also needs to recognize the sounds that are associated with these letters. So it's totality of pre-linguistic skills. So yeah, please go to episode 69 for phono awareness and emergent readers. But aside from all of that, just a quick answer for everyone here na baka interested din kayo sa episode na to, it's really using your everyday activities to point out things that are useful. So for example, gustong-gusto ng batang kumain ng popcorn, for example. So bago mo sa kanyang ibigay, oh look, Mama knows that we have our popcorn. How do I know? Because popcorn! Yes! Ito yung popcorn. Kaya alam ko may popcorn pa tayo. So, it's something that's interesting to the child. It's motivating because I love popcorn. So, drawing attention to the sound of the popcorn, maaalala niya, ano nga yung shape noong tinuro sa akin ni Mommy yung popcorn? Ito yun. Pa. So those are some ways that you really want to engage the child in decoding the symbols. All right. Next. All right. Hi, common ba sa may speech delay yung hindi naglalabas ng dila? Like yung biro na dilaan mo sila, something like that? Di naglalabas. So, if it's common sa speech delay, ang hirap magsabi ng common kasi statistics yan. Pero yes, it is a huge part of what causes speech difficulties. Kapag on command, di nahihirapan sila to move their parts of their mouth on command. Kasi a typically developing child, kapag linuloko mo na, bleh, sabihin mo kay mami, bleh, susubukan nilang gayahin ka bleh. So kapag nakikita mong nakikipaglaro ka, or kapag, kunyari, may masarap, sarap, paano mo pakita ang sarap? Tapos makikita mong, hirap na hirap yung bata gumaya, parang, hindi niya magawa, hindi niya malabas. So, it could be, like I said, a motor problem. So if it's that case, look for more signs in my verbal dyspraxia or childhood apraxia of speech episode. That's episode 45. And then also, if not, possible din na may tongue tie yung bata kapag hindi nakaka-stick out ng tongue kasi nakadikit yung dila nila sa floor of the mouth. Kasi what is tongue tie ba? If you look at our tongue, under that is a little tissue, diba? Super thin strip that's called our lingual frenulum. Kapag tongue-tied, minsan hanggang dito yung frenulum, meaning nakadikit yung dila sa floor of the mouth. And so some of them nahihirapan to do things like kasi hindi na kaya, hanggang ganyan yung dila nila. So it might also be hard for the child to do other sounds like kapag hindi nag-compensate, kung hindi ka naghanap ng proper kasi hindi nila malift yung for those movements. So check also if your child has a tongue tie, and I have a video on that. Ankylogloss, yeah, Where is that? Bakit wala ako? Tang there, 48, episode 48. So check if your child has a tongue tie. But even if may tongue tie, it's not always naman na kailangan ipagupit. You really first need to go to a speech therapist kasi sila ang makakapagsabi, nakakahadlang nga ba? Ito nga ba yung reason kung bakit hindi makapagsalita yung bata ng tama or ng klaro? So, lots of considerations. I hope that helps you. Alright, magkaiba ba daw ang OT sa speech? Yes, so OT stands for Occupational Therapy, and like the name says, it's about a child's occupation. An occupation is what the child needs to be busy with, or not a child, what all individuals need to be busy with at certain phases of their life. So if we are talking about a child's main occupation is play and exploration. Now, if there is a problem with the way that they play and explore, and that includes how they behave, kaya hindi sila nakaka-play and explore, then we usually start with an occupational therapist to address those behaviors that hinder proper occupational skills. For your speech therapist or speech language therapist like me, it is how a child communicates or how nga they cannot communicate. So yes, magkaiba sila, but most of the time we work as a team with the OT to maximize yung progress on how we tackle or address a child's difficulties. I hope that helps you. But I also have a video on occupational therapy if you want more information. And that is episode 61, OT. So meron akong collaborate doon na another pediatric occupational therapist who talks more about what they do for work. Hello, Lynette. Okay. Next, dito naman tayo sa... Okay. Hi. My son is 2 years and 1 month. Nung 8 months pa lang siya pinanganak ko siya premature. Hindi po siya nakapagsalita ng 2-word sentence. Puro ha, ma, okay, ball. Command niya lang po is gina-guide yung kamay namin. Oh, okay. So, 2 years and 1 month na siya. Ang concern ni mommy is premature yung baby. So, hindi pa siya nakakapag 2 words. But it's okay because you named some words like ma, okay, ball. That means na nakakatuto natututo yung bata at least, and that's one very important indicator na therapy will work, or changing our habits or improving the way that we stimulate the child will work kasi kahit papaano may natututunan yung bata, and all we have to do is expand that. So first thing is, dahil nabanggit mo na gina-guide yung kamay ninyo, we usually call this pulling to show. It's a common gestural requesting ng bata is imbis na sabihin sa inyo na mama or something, hihilain kayo, tapos yung iba hindi pa marunong mag-point, so pagkahila sa inyo, titingin na lang dun sa gusto nila, tapos wala na silang ibang nagagawa. So this is a non-specific gesture, and we want to usually focus on making a gesture more specific before at the same time that we can also show them how to request verbally. So making gestures more specific for asking include, for example, pag hinila ka niya, you can do things like, gusto mo ba? You want? Or kapag I have an episode on first baby sign language that you might want to start with. Baby sign language episode 62, where matuturuan mo yung baby how to request for eat. Kunyari, dalhin ka na niya doon, tapos gusto niyang kumain, gumantuman lang siya para ma-narrow down kung ano bang gusto nito. Gusto ba nito ng biscuit o gusto ba nito yung juice? 'Di ba? So doing this narrows it down to gusto niyang kumain, hungry siya. So you wanna check out baby sign language first. Moving on from gestures, dahil gusto na nating magsalita yung baby kung kaya niya, because kaya niya meron siyang ma, okay, ball. You can introduce single words na lagi mong sasabihin every time gusto niyang humingi. So kapag hinila ka na niya, sabi mo, you want something. I want, tapos say the word, I want juice. I want juice. So, hindi mo expect na susubukan niya yan agad-agad. Not all children respond the same. Some children will immediately say, I want juice. Ulitin niya lahat ng sasabihin mo. But for children who don't, ulit-ulitin nila yan every time, I want juice. Next time naman, I want ball. Next time naman, I want pupu, for example. At least, ma-retain niya na I want, I want, I want. And these are the words that you want to focus on first, the ones that they can use to request and communicate needs and wants. I hope that that helps you. Ay, nasagot ko na pala yan. Okay, here. Hi, 6 years old ang baby ko, diagnosed ASD level 2 with language impairment. Last week, sabi sa akin ng speech teacher niya na introduce po niya ng AAC. How effective po yon? Salamat po. Okay, very good question. For those who are not familiar, ASD means Autism Spectrum Disorder. And pag sinabing level 2, usually it describes how much support the child needs. Kasi kunyari for level 1, you need to guide them kahit paano to do a task. For level 2, medyo mas kailangang marami kang cues bago nila matapos yung task. And for level 3, yung tipong kailangan talagang kada hawak nung bata dun sa, kunyari, kutsara. Kahit yun, kailangan ng tulong. That's usually how we describe the levels. It's usually describing how much support and guidance the child needs to finish tasks or to be independent with their everyday tasks. So ang tanong niya dito is about AAC, which is an augmentative or alternative communication system. So ang AAC is usually used for people who have difficulty with spoken language. But the common myth is, kapag ginamit ba yung AAC, never na magsasalita yung anak nyo, like ko. So, no, that's not what it means. In fact, yung mga gumagamit ng AAC is sometimes just to bridge that missing skill na nahihirapan pa siya ngayon. Pero if you give them maybe more visual support, kunyari, nung gusto niyang sabihin, meron kayong pictures para ma-communicate niya na, I want, kunyari, usually may kamay na ganyan, I want cookie. Pero tuwing naririnig niya, I want cookie, eventually, dahil nagmamature rin naman yung speech and language niya, if everyday natin siyang sinestimulate, eventually they will try to say na, I want cookie. So AAC is not a replacement for verbal communication. It is just augmentative, dinadagdagan, or alternative for people talaga who cannot speak. But meron kasi talagang cannot speak. For example, putol yung vocal cords o wala na talagang speech sounds yun ever. But if it's about because they're learning language, it's usually augmentative and they will still there's still a possibility that the child will speak. But kapag recommend na ng speech therapist ang AAC, it might be because they see some motor problems like yung binanggit ko kanina about verbal apraxia or dyspraxia. So kapag nakakita ng ganitong signs, gusto lang i-augment ng therapist habang nahihirapan sila or while they are learning how to move their mouth, bibigyan pa rin sila ng way that they can openly communicate aside from speaking. How effective is it is also very reliant on how you use it as a family because kayo ang araw-araw na gagamit niyan with the child. I have an episode about AAC. It's episode 66 and I collaborated naman with an AAC specialist in the Philippines. Meron po silang grupo called Tinig AAC Project. Because I'm not a specialist in AAC because you really need to, AAC is not just, ito na lang, AAC, ganito lahat ng AAC ang alam kong gawin. Hindi. You really need to look at what the child's skills are. Kaya anong AAC ang gagamitin ko? Picture-based ba? Pwede ba niyang gamitin? Marunong ba siyang tumuro? Or baka naman merong complete motor problem, like paralyzed yung tao. So actually, eye gaze lang ang gagawin niyo para makapag-communicate. So the choice of AAC and how to teach the AAC is also a very specialized skill. So hindi ako specialized, but I believe in AAC. So please do contact them if you have more questions, or you can watch the video and then you'll find out there kung paano sila i-contact. It's Tinig AAC Project. I hope that helps you. All right. Okay guys, for some reason medyo napapagod na yung boses ko ngayon because ang dami kong work this week. I mean, aside from therapy. Okay, so maybe I'll go up to like 3:30. We'll see, okay? Okay, problema ko sa anak ko, may autism, nagwawala siya kapag may umiiyak ang bata. Aabot sa sasaktan niya yung bata tapos iiyak siya. Okay, so kapag may umiiyak na bata tapos nakikita mo yun ang nakaka-trigger sa bata, it might be, what is it? Is it the sound of the child? Posible na ayaw niya yung loud sound of crying. Posible, and there are people that are very empathetic. What does it mean to be empathetic? Yung parang nararamdaman nilang nahihirapan yung ibang tao. So, ako na rin, nahihirapan na rin ako, naiiyak na rin ako. Actually, ako, very empathetic ako. But yeah, so find out, is it because nahihirapan yung child mo to see another person crying, or is it the loud sound? Regardless of what it is, you need to take your child out of that situation as much as possible because meron nga siyang autism, and therefore iba nga yung way that he processes yung sensory input ng mundo. So, ngayon na tinuturuan niyo pa siya how to regulate, part of that is first removing the child from that uncomfortable, triggering situation. And then saka kayo mag-co-regulate na, oh, the child was just crying. Makes you feel bad? Maingay ba? Okay, dito muna tayo, quiet tayo. So, follow-up nito is, alam niyo po ba kung ano yung sensory difficulties ng anak ninyo? So, I'm not saying all autistics have sensory issues, but most of them do. And so, if hindi pa kayo sure, can you watch this video? Episode 59 ko on stimming or repetitive behaviors to figure out what are the things that dysregulate your child. Ano yung sabihin ng dysregulate is they feel very uncomfortable. They could be in pain from too much sound, too much lights, or nakukulangan naman. So naghahanap sila. They want more sound. They want more lights. So these are things that you need to figure out with an autistic child because matuturuan lang natin sila kapag komportable sila. So it's always the first thing that we want to address is their sensory needs. All right. Next. Okay, okay, thank you. Oh, thank you guys. I see some people sending stars. Thank you so much. This one na nakita ko is San Marie Martinez Marasigan. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. First time ko maka-receive ng stars live. So actually, last week ko lang inactivate yung stars ko kasi hindi ko siya maintindihan or hindi ko siya maupuan tapos i-set up. Pero actually, parang ilang months nang sinasabi sa akin na, you're eligible for stars. Pero guys, hindi ko nga ma-replyan yung message nyo. Asikasuhin ko pa ba yung stars? So anyway, nagpatulong na ako last week, na set up ko na. So thank you so much. Okay, here. Hi, watching from Qatar. I got an appointment for Developmental Pedia on December 7 para mapa-assess po namin. Turning 5 years old ang anak namin. Nagre-repeat siya minsan last few words when asked at may tantrums din sometimes with hitting, pinching, or biting. Minsan din po hindi niya makontrol emotions niya. Nakakapagsalita naman po pero hindi continuous conversation. Sobrang worried lang kami. Okay. So again, yung nasabi nyo na may tantrum. So is it really a tantrum? So I've been seeing a lot of articles and posts about, is there a difference between a tantrum and a meltdown? And I really looked into this, and a lot of people used to tell me na, semantics lang yan, choice of words lang yan. But hello, we are in the business of language and communication, so our words matter. And so nalaman ko that meltdowns and tantrums are different in their motivations or maybe what causes them. So a tantrum, sinasabi nila, I've seen, it is goal-oriented. Meaning, may gusto yung bata, hindi niya nakuha. So, magta-tantrum siya. May gusto siyang makuha at the end of it. And usually, when we see, kapag binigay mo na ba yung item, tatahan na yung bata. Instantly, ay, okay, masaya na ako. tantrum yun. Or, in this life naman, there's no black or white. It's highly likely na tantrum yun. Let me just change my wording. But it's a meltdown if it has something to do with their sensory issues or their sensory needs or how they process their sensory input. Na yun ang pinag-uusapan ko kanina about repetitive behaviors, is it because masyadong makati yung t-shirt niya, so na-uncomfortable siya, or masyadong maingay dito sa kwartong to, or masyadong pinipilit siyang umupo o pumirme, nahihirapan nga siya, kailangan niyang gumalaw ng gumalaw. So kapag sobrang it reaches a threshold or a breaking point, magme-meltdown na yung bata kasi hindi na niya kayang matake, parang ganon. So that's the difference between tantrum and meltdown. So I was asking you here about this is because kapag nag-hit and pinch and bite ba siya, is it because it's a sensory overload or underload? Or is it really hindi pa niya kayang ma-regulate lang yung emotions niya, big feelings? And in that case, nako, mahaba talaga yan in the way that we need to teach our children about their emotions. So first things we really do is we acknowledge na, whoa, galit ka. Okay, I understand na masama yung loob mo kasi hindi namin nabigay sa iyo. Pero kasi sa panahong to, pupunta na tayo ng simbahan, kailangan mo nang magpalit ng damit. For example, so explaining. And I'm not saying that explaining will shut up the child or make the child, kaya pala, okay na ako. Of course, hindi ganun ang tantrums, di ba? But if we do this repeatedly at hindi natin patulan yung emotional largeness nung bata, if we show the child na naiintindihan ko mabigat to, nahihirapan kang i-process, pero hindi ako nagagalit, kalma lang ako. This is what we call co-regulation, and this is one of the techniques of child psychology na I read so much about, especially recently. And then yun nga, nasabi mo na nakakapag-repeat naman siya ng words. But I'm not sure, minsan the last few words lang. It could be that the child has difficulty retaining yung sa short-term memory niya, and that could be possibly linked to attention ng bata. Do you first need to address the child's behavior, the child's working behavior, as in what they need to be able to attend to an interaction? So, with all the other concerns na linagay ko, lahat ng ibang advice na sinabi ko before, just give them words for how they can express themselves. That is also why we label their emotions. We label the words para imbis na magwala siya, next time, pwede niyang masabing, Mommy, I'm mad. O, may words na siya. Hindi na niya kailangang mag-hit and pinch or bite. Of course, this is like oversimplifying it. It will take time, but yun, if we just keep remembering na hindi nananadya ang mga bata, they only do as they have been conditioned. Meaning, kung paano tayo gumalaw sa ating environment, sa ating mundo, yan yung napipick up niya. So, it really just takes a lot of restraint on our end. Nako, and I know I'm oversimplifying this because ako, ang bilis uminit ng ulo ko. But you guys can do it because paano niya makontrol ang emotions niya is to show them na nakokontrol mo ang emotions mo. Okay, so I hope that helps you. In case then, because kadugtong pa to, in case na the child is ecolalic or nag-ecolalia, kaya nabanggit mong nagre-repeat siya minsan ng last few words, this episode on ecolalia might also help you and how you can deal with this. So my episode is episode 33. Kapag ang bata ay nag-uulit lang ng sinasabi mo imbes na sumagot or gumawa ng sarili nilang words, it means that they are having trouble processing what you're asking or what they want to say. So minsan uulitin na lang muna nila to use your own words or to give them time to process. There's so many different factors kung bakit kaya nag-ecolalia ang bata or nagre-repeat ang bata. And that episode 33, will give you tips on how to manage your child's ecolalia. Okay. Thank you, Teacher Kaye. Hi, Charm. Laking tulong ng advice nyo. Yung 6-year-old son ko na ASD can talk na po in words and sentences. At 8 years old son with intellectual disability na wala na po ang echolalia niya. And malaki na rin ang improvement niya sa speech. I hope someday maging madaldal na sila. No therapy na po sila until because full na no therapy pa po sila until because full slot, matyaga ko po silang tinuturuan. Guys, again, super, super good work, Mommy Charm. I'm so happy for you. Wow, nawala yung echolalia. That is huge. So, I'm so happy to hear this. And yeah, and yes, let's all, okay, moment of everyone hoping together with you na someday maging madaldal rin sila. And we hope that for everyone in this community. Okay. At hopefully, sana merong time na mami-meet ko kayong lahat, no? I wonder kaya kailan mangyayari yon. Akala na po yung ganyan tuloy-tuloy na po na magsasabi. Hi, Teacher Kaye. Thank you for this free consult. Our 3-year-old son only eats masabaw and naka-grind or mashed na food. We grind the meat, tapos yung rice, medyo natotolerate niya. He doesn't hold his food. He can hold the spoon, pero sa akin, isusubo yung food. Feeding time talaga is kind of hell. Before my screen time siya while eating and we managed to take that away. Kaya lang, toys naman ang pumalit para sumubo lang siya. Okay, so first I want to commend you for being able to rehabilitate the screen time while eating. Nako, super super bad habit because the child will become dependent on the screen time, and sometimes if they don't get the screen time, di na rin sila kakain, which is we cannot have that. The children need to eat all the time. But yung nabanggit mo na your child is picky with the consistency of food, dapat masabaw or ground or mashed. Ibig sabihin, I can see a trend na gusto lang ng bata ay very soft, mushy foods, and it could be because ayaw niya ngumuya. Ayaw niya yung pressure of the need to chew. And this could be because of a sensory issue. Because our proprioceptive sense or how we feel pressure in our joints, it might be na nasusobrahan yung bata sa pressure, that feeling of pressure, sobra na sa kanya, kaya iniiwasan niyang madagdagan ng feeling of pressure sa jaw niya, which is another joint, di ba? So, para hindi siya ngumuya ng ngumuya, ipa-prefer na lang niya nung malulunok niya ng malulunok. So first, understand kung tama ba yung feeling ko. Could it be a sensory issue like that? And aside from that, I guess what we can do is introduce other foods, not ground and not mashed, but smaller bites of food. Pero wag pa rin muna diretsong karne, ha? Kasi mahirap talaga yung karne na may fiber na kailangan mong nguyain. So introduce smaller bites of food. Okay naman bang ngumuya yung bata? Hindi naman siya mabibilaukan because if you introduce smaller bits of food, baka kapag lunokin lang niya, maging choking hazard naman. So, there's so many factors. That's why kung may feeding problem is usually I ask you to get an assessment with a hospital-based SLP. Why hospital-based? Because if it's a feeding issue and may possibility of aspiration, as in magpunta sa windpipe or mali yung puntahan ng pagkain, that we have the medical support there. But yeah, so some things na if feeling nyo, kaya nyo naman ma-figure out muna, if hindi nyo pa kayang magpatingin, try to introduce other soft foods na baka pwede niyang i-try. And never force the child to eat things na ayaw niya munang i-try. Always just present lots of options. Tas, we hope that they slowly try different foods para ma-vary natin yung variation of consistencies. Baka for example, alam niyo nung cream dory, isa yan sa mga medyo murang isda. Yung cream dory kasi malambot yan. Baka pwedeng maglagay ka ng bigger chunks of cream dory kasi hindi rin niya yun sobrang kailangan nguyain. Kind of kailangan lang nguyain. May kasunod pa. Pag fries daw, medyo kaya niya. Kaso hindi healthy. Pero tinignan lang daw ni mommy kung kaya. Oh, but that's good experimentation. See, so kung fries, it's still something na kailangan niyang nguyain, pero malambot siya. So try to find all those other options muna para lang lumawak muna yung repertoire of food ng anak ninyo. And mawala siguro yung takot niya of trying foods kapag binigyan mo agad ng something matigas. Kasi failure agad yun sa kanya. So baka mas mag-avoid siya ng food. So yeah, keep on doing that. And yeah, like I reminded you, try to figure out the sensory issue muna. Okay guys, it's 3:30 na. So I think I'll end to now na kasi medyo napapagod ako today talaga. Actually this week, quite tiring. At palapit na tayo sa Christmas. Hi, Teacher Kaye. Hi, Jonalyn. Kahit hindi pa nakakapag-speech therapy yung child ko, malaking tulong po yung mga advice mo. Thank you for your ideas. Thank you. Guys, everybody, thank you for hanging out with me today. I have completed my November every week live stream like I promised because it's National Children's Month. I'm not sure if makaka-live stream tayo next month, but thank you again. We're almost at the end of the year. Sa mga matagal na dito, keep up what you're doing. I know that you're all trying and doing a very good job. And sa mga bago dito, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Teacher Kaye Talks, and all my other social media sites that I'm also here. If you're watching on Facebook, then guys, i-like and subscribe. Like and follow nyo na po yan. And look through dito sa Facebook, ang pinapost ko lang usually ay yung mga introduction, kung ano yung topic ng mga videos ko sa YouTube. So if you guys wanna look through my Facebook or my Instagram first, dun yung makikita, ito yung kailangan kong topic, ito yung gusto kong panoorin, and then punta kayo sa YouTube kapag nahanap niyo yung topic na kailangan ninyo. On TikTok naman, I try to make shorter videos para sa mga super, super duper busy mga family dyan na wala masyadong time for long form videos. But hopefully when you do find time, kasi mas lalo sa mga hindi nakaka-afford or kahit na anong rason man yan ay hindi makapunta sa isang speech therapist, I hope you can still try to do things at home because maniwala kayo, ang work or whatever you do at home is actually so much more important to the child than just attending speech therapy na nakikita namin sila once or twice a week. So guys, I empower you all na you can do so much, and I hope to give you the information to be able to do more with your family and your children. And yun, good afternoon and happy Sunday and happy talking and mabuhay. Finish. Bye, YouTube.